Well, I can't express how honoured I feel being here today, not only in this building, but being asked to fill the shoes of our inspiring chairman, Tim Fisher. It's an ominous and daunting job I have, quite frankly, but one that I'm very thankful to be able to do. I have no military background. I'm not a politician. I don't get the name in the papers that much, but I must say I do have a bit of a profile at Monash University. I'm also absolutely committed to this campaign, and I think you've heard enough about the character of John Monash tonight to join with so many people, including Sir Robert Menzies and including Sir Donald Bradman, who said he's the greatest Australian. And we saw Roland Perry tonight, pretty convincing man, isn't he? Well, you should have heard a presentation he gave on John Monash, I think in February 2013. And even though I grew up with Monash, I walked out of that presentation absolutely ashamed how little I knew about this great man. And the reality is, whilst we have universities, whilst we have highways, whilst we have cities, whilst we have streets, whilst we have buildings, whilst we have halls called Monash, you ask them about what Monash did and most people have no idea. And I have to say, even people in my peer group and age group, some of the ignorance shown by arm-twisted Tim, that I thought that Jerilderie should be a donor to our program. He said, I agree, straight away. And I'm delighted to see Terry Hogan and his dear wife here tonight. Terry Hogan, we heard about Equip Yourself for Life thing. Terry Hogan, 45 years a councillor, 13 for a mayor, and let me say I'm very privileged to have got to know the Jerilderie people. I don't know one community that is so proud and put in so much as that community. I don't have to list why we want people to support the Jerilderie program. I think it's very clear from what people have said that there has been a huge injustice done to the great man. A huge injustice. Jeffrey Searle, in his 1982 biography, and he was a history professor of mine, called John Monash, he's our national possession. He was referring to the things Monash did post-war, and I'd love to read out the list of things he got involved with. It is staggering, including, I might add, Matt, raising the money for the Villa Bretonnier school, of which my father gave to when he was a kid. He formed a fund to look after the children of mothers who were born to Australian soldiers. I mean, it goes on and on and on. No one's mentioned he is a great wordsmith. Author, yes, he wrote 75,000 letters, 2 of which are in the possession of my family, whose great uncle was a chaplain with Monash. They had a cup of tea together on the road to Chateau Breton. Monash wrote a note thanking him and saying how much he enjoyed that experience. Unbelievable. He was a man of the people. I don't need to read out the Jerilderie proposition. It's in the brochure. It's in a handout that's there. You know the essence of it, and I hope you fervently believe in it. There are 3 questions I believe have to be answered. Is it warranted and justified? Pretty obvious to answer those. Are they valid and credible reasons why they should be rejected? And if the promotion is justified, why hasn't it happened yet? And you've heard some of the reasons tonight. First point, is it warranted? Well, to me it comes down to 3 or 4 things. The nature of his command, 208,000. Birdwood, incidentally, only had command of 4 Australian divisions. The 1st division was seconded up north. Monash was the first Australian commander who had command of the 5 divisions, but in all he commanded 8 divisions, but multinational. Canadians, British, Australian, American, first overseas commander to command American troops, which the Battle of Hamel, by the way, when did he do it? American Independence Day. Unbelievable. His impact on strategy and tactics is so obvious. No British general understood offensive warfare. Monash did. And as Roland said, his staff, General Blamey and those in the Chief of Staff, idolised him. People talk about precedent. There was a precedent. When Birdwood was given the command of the Australian Army Corps, he was made a general. Now, it is quite right that Monash received a 1-rank upgrade to Lieutenant General. But I'm not convinced, after Hamel, and certainly the Battle of Amiens, that he should not have been upgraded to General based on what happened in those campaigns. And if that had happened, it could be expected and would have been expected that he would have received the Chief Air Marshal, Field Marshal position shortly after that. A couple of things that hasn't come out tonight, and in fact I have never read them in a book, but Laurie Henry, the historian from Jerilderie, had dug it out. In 1930, there was an article written by William Elliott, the same William Elliott who was teacher of John Monash in Jerilderie, wrote an article in which he mentioned a speech that Generalissimo Foch gave to the troops. Generalissimo Foch, that's higher than a Field Marshal, by the way. He was appointed overall command of all Allied troops in May 1st, 1918. Foch in this talk mentioned that they knew that the Germans were going to mount a major offensive, which unfortunately was called Operation Michael, and I wasn't named after that, thank God. So he called all the generals of all the Allied troops, French, Belgian, Portuguese, English, Irish, Scotch, Welsh, South African, Canadian, New Zealand, Australian. And he asked the generals to write on a piece of paper which people you wanted to defend, put in the prime position to defend the new advance Operation Michael. Guess what? Unanimously Australians. Never been written about this before. And very few people mention Corby. Monash and the 3rd Division were placed just north of the Somme, just north of Hamel, over the river, and the Germans, bolstered by, I think, something like 1 million troops pulled out of the Russian front, started, and I think, Grantley, you mentioned it, what was it called? The Battle of Annihilation. Ludenburg told all Germany about. This was going to finish the war for all time. And then there was Monash. They stopped that advance, and in fact, on March the 25th or 26th, they actually pushed them back a bit. We think Monash's greatness came from Hamel. I think Corby was the first step to saying to the Germans, listen guys, you have to you should be a bit worried. More seriously, Monash's promotion to Field Marshal at this 100th anniversary of the great battles of the Great War is absolutely fitting for three main reasons. First, between the 8th and 11th of August, Monash's Australian Corps played a crucial role in the Battle of Army. I won't say these because we've heard about the three things. Army-on, Monson Quentin, which Rawlinson even said was the greatest feat of the war. I don't want to talk about Rawlinson because I've got less opinion than what you've heard about him than what other people have said. And Grantley, you mentioned some quotes in your book about Mr. Rawlinson said about Monash. And Rawlinson's reputation relied on him. The Hindenburg Line. By late summer and autumn of 1918, the Australian Corps could carry out offensive actions with a much greater elan than most of the other Allied formations. The troops were of unusually high quality for this stage of the war, but their offensives would not have succeeded if they had not been commanded by a general with the skill, aggression and sense of purpose of Sir John Monash. There is no doubt that General Sir John Monash is the greatest soldier that Australia has yet produced, a commander whose performance on the battlefield far outstripped the performance of the Allies' other field commanders. There's two cruel ironies about this whole campaign in Monash. First of all, if Rupert Murdoch and Bean had been able to appoint Monash to Burgood's position as head of the AIF and Brudenell White taken the head of the Australian Army Corps, Monash would have been appointed the Field Marshal. Secondly, the other irony is that Haig, Rawlinson and the British High Command wanted to put off any offensive to 1919, Churchill 1920. It was Monash who went and put in a plan to take the offensive in 1918, which we all know the result of that. It was very strongly believed that Haig would not have been around after 1918 and that Monash was certainly in the front line to take over overall command of the Allied troops. Okay? He would have been Field Marshal. Now I want to conclude with I think is the overwhelming reason to support the Girildi proposition. And that is, at the moment, General Sir John Monash is relegated to the second level of generals in Australia. That is just not acceptable and unjustified. He stood supreme, and until he is made a Field Marshal, he will always be remembered in history as being a second-tier general in Australian history. I'm sure you feel equally ashamed as I do, quite apart from the treatment that he was given, which has been referred to tonight. One last point. Sir Robert Menzies, late in life, related to an incident which is my favourite story of John Monash, which I won't go into, but Monash had to get some funds for the State Electricity Commission, and he knew that the Cabinet and the Victorian Government would said no. This is what Monash said. That when Monash invaded the Cabinet room, I love that term, we all stood up instinctively. We all stood up. We were all in the presence of a man we knew was a greater man than we would ever be. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's about time Australia stood up, took action and made the Field Marshal rank possible in the very near future. Thank you.
This is a carefully organised draw. all I'd like to do is just say how you can help. The jewellery proposition sets out how it should be done. Ideally, that you do that others have done in your local clubs, local services clubs, Rotary, whichever, bowling club, pass a resolution to support the jewellery proposition and send it to your federal member and a copy to us. It's all in the documents there that you had on your chair, how to go about it, but particularly the federal member, because that's where it will get discussed in the cabinet room, in the party room and so on. So if you can do that, it'd be great. And any financial help you can give would also help.